States lead, lessons not learned in Ferguson. In the weeks since the death of Michael Brown, we've heard a lot of calls for change, both to prevent more police shootings and to reconsider the militarization of local police. But apparently some people don't see a need to change. St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmer is defending the use of military equipment by local police. And just listen why.
A lot of that equipment is, in my opinion, and other chiefs across the country, necessary. Every one of our agencies have equipment that is very similar to that because we patrol very urban areas. And we do that because we have a responsibility to not only mitigate serious crimes, but certain terrorist events.
Of course, we do need to be ready for terrorist events, but he thinks officers need military equipment because they patrol, quote, urban areas. Communities need to trust their police officers. And that trust wasn't built in Ferguson when the streets looked like a war zone. Has Chief Belmer forgotten this? But I guess the police chief thinks that's all okay because it happened in an urban area. Thankfully, not everyone agrees. Missouri Senator Claire McCaskill plans to hold Senate hearings next month on the militarization of police departments. Congressman Adam Schiff is urging the Attorney General to help local police departments buy body cameras. And a group of civil rights groups and lawmakers wrote a letter to the president asking for the Justice Department to help make other changes to local police forces. They want to make racial bias training mandatory, to implement diversity hiring and retention guidelines so police reflect the communities where they serve, and to appoint a police czar to watch for egregious activity. These are the kinds of steps we should take. But claiming police need military hardware because they're patrolling, quote, urban areas, that demonstrates a profound misunderstanding of what the last few weeks have been all about. Joining me now are Congressman Elijah Cummings, Democrat of Maryland, who signed on to that letter urging the Justice Department to change police practices, and Patricia Bynes, Committeewoman of Ferguson Township. Thank you both for being here.
It's good to be with you, Reverend Sharpton.
Thank you for having me.
Congressman, this new comment about military gear in, quote, urban areas, doesn't that highlight what we need to renew and review as we renew our commitment to preserve and protect? I mean, we need to review police tactics all over the country.
Yes, no doubt about it, Reverend. Our citizens should never be in a position where they are paying people to protect and serve, and the next thing you know, they find out that those very people are attacking them as if they're in some type of war zone. And so it's very important that police have training and have certain sensitivity. You know, Reverend, under this 1033 program, whereby the local police departments get this equipment, a lot of this equipment, you're talking about bayonets, grenade launchers,
right,
all kinds of stuff. And a lot of these policemen, first of all, the equipment has no place in an urban area. But second, a lot of these policemen are not trained to even use this equipment, and then they want to use it because they got it. It's like a little toy, and they want to use it. And unfortunately, it puts people in a position where they can bring a lot of harm and do more harm just with the presentation of that kind of equipment than they do good. And so we've got to really look at that. And we also have to look at the composition of these police departments. That's another thing that the letter talked about. We cannot have a police department that has 53 officers and only 3 of which are African American. There must be a reflection of the population.
In a community that's 67% African American.
That's right.
Patricia,
that's right.
What's the reaction in Ferguson to the chief's comment about urban areas?
Well, it sounds like, and I really hate to say this, it sounds like a code language for what urban is supposed to mean. It sounds like it's almost as if it's being saying, well, we were policing black people, so this is the tactic that we needed to use. And it does not sit well at all with the community. While they had tanks and tear gas, you know, people may have been throwing rocks and bottles. Is this an appropriate response? And it doesn't feel, protesters are not domestic terrorists. So I can see in situations where you need this type of equipment, and I know how things escalated out there. I was out there every single night, but we need to question, was this the correct response? And are we just doing this because these were majority black people protesting, or would other people throughout America, if they were white protesting, would this have had the same reaction?
And we're not condoning rocks and
no,
bottles.
Not at all.
But we're talking about an overreaction. In fact, Congressman, yes, there was a lot of military equipment in Ferguson. The Pentagon confirmed it had sent the St. Louis County Police 6 pistols, 12 rifles, 15 weapon sights, 3 helicopters, 7 Humvees, 2 night vision devices, 1 bomb disposal robot. And the smaller Ferguson Police Department got 2 Humvees, 1 generator, and 1 cargo trailer. I mean, do we need to review whether police departments really need this kind of gear from the Pentagon, Congressman?
No doubt about it, Rev. We're going to have to review it. Keep in mind that over the last, say, 20 years, local and state police departments have gotten $4.3 billion worth of equipment from the military. And again, there's a view of the urban areas, and as if they act as if they've got to police them in a way where we cannot, where it's almost like they looking at you as if they're the enemy. And these are people who were peacefully protesting, peacefully putting out the word that they were very much upset with what happened with Mr. Brown. And and for the vast majority of them were protesting peacefully. So the next thing you know, you've got these folks coming in with this heavy equipment, and the kind of equipment that really causes people to say, you know, wait a minute, what's going on here? And like I said, I just think that exacerbates the problem as opposed to helping to resolve the problem.
And some of those citizens they're claiming to protect are inhaling the tear gas.
Inhaling the tear gas, that's right.
You know, Patricia, the Hill reports that police groups are lobbying to keep their hardware, arguing it helps protect the public, and they're gearing up for a fight with lawmakers and the Obama administration. Even if the program continues, shouldn't there be some kind of change, even if it's more training?
There needs to be a significant amount of change. Now that things have cooled down here in St. Louis, I think we all need to recalibrate. And now we need to really be asking the tough questions. If we had a terrorist attack here in St. Louis, I definitely think that we are equipped for that. There need to be strict guidelines on when you pull out, you know, the tear gas on anyone, and especially citizens. We need to look at everything, every policy. And
Congressman, you know, one thing that I've been saying is that national figures, particularly those that are being touted as potential presidential candidates, ought to be speaking out. And I'm happy Hillary Clinton has now come and weighed in on Ferguson. Listen to this.
Nobody wants to see our streets look like a war zone. Not in America. We are better than that. We can do better. We cannot ignore the inequities that persist in our justice system, inequities that undermine our most deeply held values of fairness and equality.
I think that's a very strong and good statement from Hillary Clinton. I'm hoping that Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and others weigh in. But will we, in your opinion, Congressman, see more and more pressure put on this whole question of the way we've seen what we saw in Ferguson, the militarization of these police departments?
I think we'll see a lot of pressure, and thanks to people like you, Reverend. I want to thank you for your leadership. You've been absolutely great on this. But yeah, we're gonna have to do it ourselves, and we're gonna have to continue the pressure. But there's one other thing that we got to keep in mind, Reverend. This cannot just be a black effort.
Right.
We have to have a coalition of people, and you always talk about that, a coalition of people, and that's why I'm very pleased that Dr. Maya Rockeymoore and Dr. Blackwell pulling this letter together. They emphasize having a diverse group of people. It's not just African Americans, people from corporate America, white, black, Hispanic, and coming together saying, we want a better America, we want a better policing situation, and I think that's very significant too. But we've got to keep that pressure going on.
So, and Rand Paul even spoke out, but you know, a reporter, Patricia, asked the St. Louis police chief what they'd use in the past. Take a listen to this.
What other purposes have you used that equipment for in the past?
Armed barricade, search warrants. That's pretty much it. We don't ever really use them for search warrants very often.
Military gear for search warrants? I mean, not that often. So why have it, Patricia?
I don't know what happened. I think that they got in the heat of the moment. I think that there may have been some biases that played out in seeing that it was a largely black crowd, that maybe they felt that in order to control the crowd, they needed to resort to this. I hope that this never happens again anywhere in America to this extent, because beyond just what you see in the streets, now those of us that live here, there is a real rift between the law enforcement community here and people that live here in feeling policed, over-policed, and serious questions of excessive force, which we have some trust issues that we need to work on now.
Congressman Elijah Cummings and Patricia Bynes, thank you both for your time tonight.
Thank you, Reverend Sharpton.
Thank you.